the volume.
Turn up the volume.
You've arrived at the destination for all things Kentucky. This is the Bleed Blue Network Podcast.
What is going on, Big Blue Nation? Episode of All UK Ball Podcast. After another letdown weekend, another letdown Saturday, Selena is currently dealing with some puking kids. They're probably actively yakking right now. So I got my boy Terrence from the Border Rivals Podcast on here with me. T, how you doing?
Doing all right, man. You know, I just had a long road trip out to New Mexico, so a little tired, but to talk about Tennessee beating Kentucky, I'm willing to push through.
Yeah, man. Well, this is the All UK Ball Podcast. We'll let the gloating on Tennessee happen next Friday if we can get through that. But my goodness gracious! So just start off, I guess. Let me ask you, because I know how I felt as we were leading most of that game, and felt good, but never really felt in control. At any point, did you feel nervous that you weren't going to win that game? Might have been frustrated at play calls, might have been frustrated at the plays, might have been frustrated at the output, but did you ever feel uncomfortable that you weren't going to win?
Yeah, 100%. That's why you didn't hear from me a whole lot that game, because I was angry at you, like we were the ones out on the field, but I knew you were pulling for Kentucky, so I was mad at you. Yeah, I was. Just like I told you on Friday, you have to respect a rivalry game no matter what records say, no matter what stats say. So I had respect for Kentucky going into it. They came and they put it to us. They played hard. So yeah, I was definitely nervous. Actually, I was pretty angry a lot of the game. So yeah, to long way to answer your question, yes, I was nervous.
Yeah, I was. It was just enough to get us believing throughout the game, but honestly, never really thought it was there for the taking. The game was there for the taking, but never was really comfortable. There we had opportunities to go up 2 scores, and we were doing the live watch along, and it just if we could have gotten up 2 scores, gone up, to where we had. All the pressure, especially in the second half, was on Tennessee, and we just couldn't really take advantage of that. Costly turnovers, and just frustrating overall football. So as much as you were frustrated for losing that game, we were frustrated for not taking advantage of the opportunities that we were given. I mean, missed kicks and turnovers that you all gave us the opportunity to win that game, and we didn't take it. And honestly, not anything new. Another game where we were leading at half and just couldn't do anything with it. You knew that if y'all got to 20 points, it was probably going to be game over for Kentucky just because of the way the offense goes. And a lot of that was super preventable. But let's start off with the first half. Can you at least acknowledge that the officiating was absolutely trash in the first half of the game?
I got no issue acknowledging that. What I'm not going to say is that I think it was one-sided, because to me, I was just hearing the whistle way too much, just period.
True. Yeah.
And I don't want to see the refs that much. I don't tune into the games to watch and hear the refs, and I know they have to control the game. That's their job, but they were just significantly too involved. I don't want to hear and see from refs that much. So yeah, it was just too much for me all around.
I agree there. Now I would, still having some scar tissue, I will say it was one-sided. I mean, Brock got mushed in the face. The false start that ended up being, that wasn't a fault. I don't know. There was a lot of nonsense in the first half of the game. But that being said,
that one was bad. That false start, yeah. That one was bad.
But you could say crucial moments. It played in the game, but it was the first half. It wasn't like a game-winning, altering play. So while it's frustrating, I can't sit here and say, like, yes, that is, clearly I can be pissed off at the refs. That's why we lost, because that's frankly just not accurate. The reason why we lost is we got a little greedy with some of the play calls. And we'll talk about how I like to get your perspective as a defensive guy, playing college ball. And, when you have a team, I pulled up the stats here. I mean, Wilcox, we've been asking for him to get the ball. 17 carries for 102 yards, averaging 6 a carry. Demi, who was coming in hurt, 6 carries for 38 yards, averaging 6.3. And then Gavin, when he came in, was the backup running back, was averaging, got 4 carries, 20 yards, 5 a carry. So all in all, and if you take Brock's couple of carries away, you're averaging 6 yards, 5.5, 6 yards a carry. Every time we drop back to pass the ball, you must have been excited as a Tennessee fan. Like, yes, please continue to get in the shotgun and throw the football, because I know that's not what success looks like for Kentucky.
Honestly, I was just nervous about everything, but yes, y'all were far more effective on the ground. I don't know if I've seen Tennessee get dashed like that this season on the ground. I was pretty impressed, and it was a combination of your your run game, your dedicated run game, and then you have 2 quarterbacks with Vandergriff and I forgot the other guy's name, but both of them have, a lot of physical ability. So their running ability was a problem too. And I hadn't seen us get gashed on the ground like that. Not this season.
Yeah, and to be fair, that's been Kentucky's MO all year. It's the ground game is working. The offensive line can't pass pro very well, but they can absolutely run block. Some of these, they create cutback lanes. This kind of zone scheme running style works, and it especially works for the running backs like Demi and Wilcox, who can absolutely be dynamic with the ball in his hands. There were plays where, I mean, the play where Brock got hurt should have been a run call. Like, you don't put him in that situation. You're asking the O-line, who has proven all year to not be able to communicate, pass off blocks, and deal with complicated situations. Put them in a situation where they have to, slide protection and they just miss. And, Brock just gets absolutely hammered on a 3rd and short, which could have been a run play, because we're averaging 5 yards carry, and instead he gets hurt. We got to have Gavin come in. And then you look at Gavin playing, who he's Kentucky boy, but played at Rutgers before transferring back to Kentucky this year. And he showed some flashes at Rutgers, but we joked around with this on the Border Rivals podcast. Like, he's got an absolute cannon. You just have no idea where it's going at times, especially in that short to intermediate passing range. And to be in a 3rd and 5 situation on your side of the field where you have an easy 3 points, you can take it to be a 14-13 lead. And at that point, you still have a puncher's chance. Instead, you put him in a position where he's just hitting his back foot and throwing the ball. Like, doesn't have the time in the offense to make reads. I mean, Brock is the starter. He didn't really even have time in the offense to sit there and go through progressions. So he hits his back foot, tries to get it to Caddis, and especially what's 35? Was he corner or safety? The white boy that got the pick.
Will something.
Yeah, but I mean,
Brooks or Banks or something.
Yeah,
Bailey.
He sealed the game for Alabama, right? Like, that's she's shown on film.
Yes.
That's not the guy you test. And it just, luckily we tracked him down. All it really did was waste more time, because you'll end up scoring anyways. So
I almost maybe I did text us about how our group chat about how slow he was, and I was going to get on you, but I was just too mad about the game, so I couldn't.
So it's like, and then even with all that, we still find ourselves within range to win the game. I'll get into my frustration with Bush Hamdan again. I would like to get your just from an outside perspective. You had no bias for against Bush, but you heard me talk about Jamore Macklin. He was the guy I said was going to be the player of the game for us on our podcast we recorded on Friday. I doubled down on that when we talked on the pregame show, and he got 3 targets. One of them was that one-handed catch that he came down with the end zone, and the other one was a 2-point conversion. So, and those are back-to-back plays. So NBA Jam rules, the boy's heating up. Give him the ball, man.
Yep.
Like, find ways to give him the ball. And it's just like Bush just went away from it, especially when you got Berryon, who is dealing with the rib injury. He's out like instantly. You got to find ways to gel the offense. And when Bush can call plays and it's in rhythm and the run game, when the run game is working, he can do okay. As soon as you get a couple runs where it's only a 1 or 2 yard gain, or it's a 3rd and 5 and it's like right in the middle ground of like I don't know what to do, you almost can like see him start panicking and just doesn't know how to really manage the game. And you see that on the field too, because I think a lot of times you see some of the players start panicking and they don't execute the way they should. Coaching matters. I absolutely believe it. A well-coached team finds a way to win these games, right? These close games where you're winning at halftime, they find a way to beat Vandy. They find a way to beat Auburn. They find a way to beat Florida, and we find a way to beat Tennessee, or at least make it close. And then not being a Tennessee fan and being a complete Tennessee hater, I look at y'all and a tight game against Bama, you find a way to win. A tight game against us where you're a double score, 3-score favorite, still find a way to win. That's like some of those times you got to grind it out. Well-coached teams can do that. And I don't think our offense is necessarily well-coached. But floor's over to you. What did you see from the play call perspective as a guy who was on the defense side of the ball and is a Tennessee fan?
Yeah, I hear your frustration. I don't think it's about how they're coached as an offense, but play calling, it takes creativity, and you do have to switch it up when you have a quarterback change. I think the color commentary guys calling the game, they even mentioned that Tennessee, that we needed to start getting pressure because your guy from Rutgers has not had a bunch of experience making reads, making quick decisions, and all that. So now, to me, as an offensive coordinator, you have to adjust your play calling. Like maybe you're giving Vandegrift some space to make some reads or anything. Chop your play calls in half in terms of don't have them trying to read the whole field. Have them read half the field.
Yeah.
Run 2, 3. If you're wanting to throw it, I agree you should have stuck with the run game more. But if you're wanting to throw it, give him 2 or even 3 receiver sets on one side, so he only has to process one side of the field as opposed to scanning or anything like that. And the other thing is give him easy pitch and catch type things. Give him some hitches. Give him some hooks, some quick slants, so that he's not, again, you don't want anybody predetermining anything, but sometimes you just know a little stop route, a little hook, a little something is going to be available. So maybe as an offensive coordinator, you'd like to see a little more flexibility on his part. Can't have the same playbook, for your backup as your starter, particularly someone who hasn't been with the offense for some time. So yeah, I think I'm with you on that. Maybe if I'm the Kentucky O coordinator, I'm chopping the field in half when I want to air it out. And then you did mention throwing the ball to Macklin. That touchdown catch that he had, it was an incredible catch because, I mean, you can't play any tighter defense than McCoy did. And I'm super high on McCoy as a lockdown corner. So, that's the flash that you want to display right there if you're Macklin, to show, hey, I could do it, feed me. And then, like you said, back to back, go straight to the 2-point conversion. And when I'm watching, it made me think about what you said about him, that this was going to be the Macklin game. And I was like, oh man, here we go. And then luckily we did not go. But yeah, he's a stud. So, someone like him can make the game easier for a quarterback who's not, in rhythm, who hasn't been with the offense for a long time or any of that, because he can make dynamic plays. So feed him and, make it a excuse me, make it a smaller field, and you can help yourself out a lot.
Yeah, 100%. And he had been involved in the offense because they had started when Brock, in other games when Brock was showing that he wasn't like the plug and play 5-star. He was having some struggles. He wasn't handling the pressure well. And I don't know what quarterback would be able to handle the pressure that he was seeing because of the O-line not being able to figure it out. But so they would bring him in and they were running this 2-quarterback set. And Tennessee was the first game where we hadn't seen a 2-quarterback package in a long time, because they were just going to, hey, we got to ride Brock. We can't keep taking him out of the flow of the games. That wasn't working. So he had seen the field, but again, he was either handing the ball off or he was running. And when he came in after the Brock injury, y'all struggled to stop the run. Like, you could clearly see linebackers and safeties feet in concrete, is not knowing when to go or when to stay. Like, they were having to delay that half a second. And that was when we were dreaming runs. But like I said, with the kind of the panic of the play calling, we had a first down run that went for a yard, a second down run that went for 3 yards, and now we're in the 3rd and 6, 3rd and 5 range, and it wasn't an easy, like, okay, now I just got to run it. And so instead of just living by the run, dying by the run, hey, this is how we have to win this ball game. We're going to drain the clock. Not to mention giving the defense a little bit of a blow, because at that point in the second half, you could clearly tell they were struggling with the cardio a bit. That is the frustration that we've seen and had all year with the offensive play calling. At least we saw the game where they gave Jamarion Wilcox, the bulk of the carries, and he showed what he could do with them. I mean, he started off the game with the explosive 50-yard run, and right there we were like, that was like the initial jolt of like, okay, these guys came to play. Let's transition over to the defense, though, because I also, as well as they played, had some frustration with the defense, and most of it was the cornerback play. I don't know how much you watched Kentucky corners playing. You're obviously just in the flow of the game, so you're probably not sitting there, trying to evaluate them. But I do want to ask you the question of, we were doing a good job of making Nico uncomfortable. The same thing we kind of did with Jackson Dart. We were making him feel uncomfortable early on in the game. Later in the game, though, when we had to make stops, we were making him feel uncomfortable. The second half, we weren't really making him feel uncomfortable. We were rushing him, but we were giving him easy throws. There were so many 3rd and 8s that he was able to convert. We're sending a blitz package, sending pressure more than the O-line can block. And our corners are playing to the sticks, 8-9 yards off the ball. And instead of driving on these short routes, where we know we just have to, hey, it's going to be a short route, he's going to have to get the ball out quick. He's not going to have time to let some of these things develop downfield. So when you see the receiver start breaking down in a hip sink, go attack the ball. Instead, we're still either in our back pedal or we're flat-footed, so that when the receiver catches the ball, he's able to catch it and then get upfield and make a play instead of just being on him right away. I don't know if you caught any of that, and I don't know if you have a counter argument to why you would play that way in a situation where you have to have a stop and get the offense off the field. So as a corner, would you have played it different? Would you have played it the same? Or is that a Brad White call because he doesn't trust the cornerback play to kind of get burned and take one deep?
That was my thinking while I was listening to you talk this and or ask that. And really, it's a matter, are they man blitzes or are they zone blitzes? Because if they're zone blitzes and you're in cover 3, you still got to get deep, and then you got to rally up and make the tackle on anything in front of you. if he is worried about them getting beat deep, I mean that just has not been our Tennessee's calling card this season. Not yet. I mean, Nico and the receivers haven't really been hitting on them. So to me, if I'm the defensive coordinator, I kind of got to use that, and I got to trust my corners, particularly in these must-have situations. So I'm with you on that. You're right. I wasn't really watching the Kentucky corners, though I do tend to watch corners a lot. Just because that's the position I know the best. But I think it would depend on the play call, and if he is running a lot of zone blitzes, that most likely means that there is some concern or worry or lack of trust. I mean, I know y'all had so many dudes hurt already, and then like 50 more dudes got hurt during the game. So that may have been part of it. He's just like, we're short bodies. So, you probably got second, third string guys in there somewhere, and there may have been some concerns. And so he may have been running zone blitzes, which kind of hamstrings you as a corner for things up close, unless it's cover two type stuff. You don't have too many blitzes coming out of cover two. So that's my guess, is that he's probably running zone blitzes, and they were looking for deep thirds and just rallying up to make the tackle, or that was the goal.
Yeah, maybe. Some of the ones that were happening in the fourth quarter, if I'm recalling correctly, we were playing man, especially because they were, you were 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, still able to convert those things. And a lot of times the receiver was catching them 3 or 4 yards in front of the sticks, and just by the time we could react, and our quarterback play has still been good, even though we Mad Max, Max Harrison is out. He's been out for a while with a shoulder infection, and like he's our true lockdown corner, Sunday type guy. Not having him has been rough, but the younger dudes have stepped up. Nichols, who's a true freshman, came in and locked down. I'm blanking on the guy's name, but Ole Miss's star wide receiver who was leading the league in yards and receptions until we played him. So he came in there and did a great job, dislocated his shoulder, and came back in and still blocked him down. So dude showed some grit, showed some effort and ability. I did see, though, this is how I looked at it watching the game. It seemed like young players playing not confident, and it was, if I drive late and they get a first down, that doesn't highlight me for losing this game. If I get burnt deep and they score a touchdown, it's on me. That's what it seemed like. It seemed like some buttholes got puckered up when the game started to play, and we weren't actually playing tight like the rest of the team or the young guys were getting picked on. That's how I saw it, and I can't necessarily blame them for it. Like it's a big stage, but it just seemed like what would have been a play tight, no one were rushing, try to create some sort of turnover or create some sort of big play, or at least stop him and be there when he makes contact, when the receiver gets contact with the ball. It was, I'm going to bail, hope to rally, and if at least don't let me myself get burned deep, which you had said that really wasn't your calling card. But in the back of these young guys' minds, that's what it seemed like. To me, it was a confidence deal. You saw it in the way they were tackling late in the game. That's just that was my perception of it. Again, I'll let you jump in there and see if you think that kind of creeps up into a player's mind. That's what it seemed like. It just seemed like they weren't confident there at the end of the game, and they were taking hey, let me play soft, because at least I don't get burned for a TD, which would have absolutely ended the game in those moments where the Kentucky offense just ain't getting it done there in the second half.
That's a definite possibility. And the other thing is, plays that didn't even get made on them can still end up creeping up in the back of your mind. So maybe a receiver burns you on a double move and they don't throw it to the receiver, but he still got you. Or maybe he runs a route and Nico throws it to the other side of the field, but you still got beat on that route. If that's happening, a few times during the game, so even though we don't see it watching it on TV, or maybe even there in the stadium, the corner's there, he lived it, right? So maybe I don't know if that happened, but maybe if it is a confidence issue, that type of stuff could be happening. I don't think it's so much like, hey, I don't want to be highlighted for costing us the game, more than like, yo, this dude has been beating me. Eventually he's going to, and they're not throwing him the ball. Eventually he's going to beat me, and they're going to throw him the ball. And like as a corner, that's the whole point, is to not let them catch the ball. So that if there are some confidence issues, it may have been that they were getting beat on routes that we weren't seeing, or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, and I need to go back and look too. That you got me curious now, because it might just have been, it might have been an adjustment that Brad White didn't make, because the whole bend don't break defense had been working. Like, we're gonna let you play within, between, from our your 20 to our 20, but what we know, we're going to try to stop you there, just short of the red area or in the red area. That was working. That can't work though when you're playing from behind, and you got to get a stop, and there's 4 or 5 minutes left to go in the game, and another score puts you out of it. So maybe that just wasn't a communication from Brad White. I'm a big Brad White fan, so I would think he'd be able to make that coaching adjustment. But maybe the adjustment was made, but it's just a player has been playing the whole game this way. It's hard to make the on-field adjustment too. So maybe I'm a little too rough on these guys, and I'm just it's easy for me to bitch and moan about it, sitting there drinking my cocktail on the couch. So it's just another game that we had the opportunity to win, and we found ways. It's like we continue to find ways to piss it away. So that's the players. The players got to make plays. The center can't shoot back an erratic snap there at the end of the game, where you got to have a third down conversion. Instead, it's swim set, jump on the ball. So players got to make plays. Coaches got to coach. It's a symbiotic relationship that has to happen. But I do, at the end of the day, I think coaching is the thing that matters, especially at this level, where you have some NFL type players, but most of them aren't. And they need to be coached up to get the best potential out of them, especially in these high-pressure moments. And that has been a failure so far, especially on the offensive side of the ball, for Kentucky this football season, which has led to a disappointing season. But as we come up on the 30-minute mark, just kind of want to make a quick rapid-ish reaction. We talked about on the Border Rebels podcast, we joked around like, hey, are the boys quitting? Are the we saw the availability roster for the injury report, whatever the hell it's called, for Kentucky. A lot of dudes were out. I got to tell you, I had my questions answered during that game, because, like you said, we had 13 offensive starters who were hurt, and then they kept dropping like flies throughout the game, and never once did anybody just like give up. Like, the locker room's still there. These boys are still fighting. Like, they still want to win. You see Pop Dumas Johnson, number 2 out there. I don't know if you recognize. He had 14 total tackles. It was just an absolute dog out there, and coming from Georgia.
He's the one who hit the tight end. He's the one who dislodged it from the tight end for the
That was that Afari or was that Lovett? But yeah, that was 25. 2 is the linebacker.
I thought that was your guy.
Yeah, it might have been. I thought it was Lovett, but it might have been. But regardless, he was absolutely all over the field. If there was a tackle to be made, Pop was there, and he was the one that said after the Vandy loss. Some coaches were out there talking about, hey, we're trying to do this. Other coaches were making excuses. Pop was like, I came from Georgia, man. Like, when I was at Georgia, I didn't lose a game. When I was in high school, I didn't lose a game. I ain't used to this losing business. Like, this is not okay with me. And you can see when he's out there on the field, like, he has bad intentions, man. He's everything you want. He's intelligent as a linebacker. He's aggressive. He's got the physical and the mental game that can just take him to the next level. And watching us struggle and not being able to pull out games while he's out there just killing it is rough as a fan, because I was like, damn, I feel bad that he's just giving it his all. Same with Afari. Same with Dion. Dion has first round draft pick potential all over him, and he's just eating double teams and triple teams at some point, still getting to the quarterback and being effective in the run game. So on the defensive side of the ball, especially, I can tell these boys aren't quitting on the team. Like they're still something to fight for. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's Stoops. Maybe it's the university. Maybe it's just like, hey, ultimately this season can affect my legacy and my future because I'm trying to do this game as a profession and make a bunch of money and change my family's life. Whatever it is, man, they're out there killing it. And then the same for the offensive side of the ball. Brock continues to get punished. I don't know how long he's going to be out for. He took another, eventually he's going to take a lick where he's just not going to get up from it. And that happened. And you see guys just all over the field. Barryon, he got knocked out with the ribbage like we talked about, and seeing him crying on the sidelines, he doesn't want to come out. Like, just my question were answered. I was nervous that these guys were looking towards the offseason and hey, where's this NIL money going to take me? What's my Cancun trip going to look like? Where am I going to transfer? But thank goodness that's not happening. And at least we potentially have a Louisville game at home that we can, end the season with some healthy bodies and some guys who are still hungry to play football and to play for the coach and to play for the university and the fan base. So I appreciate that, at least, that these guys are still full heads into the game. And when you take a top 5 team in the country at a night game in a blackout up against the ropes for 3 quarters, I think that's not an opinion. That's in the film that they are coming out to fight. So did you feel the same way watching that game? Did you think like, hey, these boys are still fully engaged with this coaching staff?
No question. Because again, we had just talked about it. So that was something that I was kind of watching. They came out with a ton of fight. Okay, that's kind of to be expected because it is a rivalry game. It's a dope environment, blackout night game, like you said. But there was no fall off, even with injury after injury after injury after injury. Whoever it was who had to come in, play out of position, whatever, effort was never lacking. So I thought that was good by your Cats. That was a good showing. Definitely looks like they're still all in and trying to do the best that they can while they're out there. So no, I don't think they've quit.
Hey, what's up with this mean chant y'all are yelling at our players for faking injury? Thinking we're faking injuries. You hear this?
So since Hypewell has gotten to UT, a lot of teams have done that. We seem to have slowed down a little bit, but especially when Hendon Hooker was there, teams would do it, and they've shown teams doing it to us this year. Literally, you can see the dude look at his coach. The coach makes the play call, then he like falls down and has a cramp out of nowhere. So,
Ole Miss did that to us. Ole Miss did it to us when we traveled to them.
Yeah, but, so that's it's not necessarily like a Kentucky thing. It's just that's what happens to Tennessee. So at this point, like you could have an arm dangling like the wrong direction. Tennessee fans would probably still boo, thinking it was a fake injury. But it's just what people have been doing to us since Hypel got here.
Did you hear what they were saying? From the stands, they had to even like bleep out the ESPN copy.
Yeah, they were saying he's a
cat. He's a cat, which he is a cat.
Yes.
But not that form of it,
Yeah.
It was kind of funny because you got especially the guys that were going down that the fan base was like booing for faking injuries. Like we might have some dudes on this team that would do that. Not these guys. Like these guys aren't the ones that
and that's what the commentators were saying too. They're like, nah, I don't see anything about this guy that would fake an injury.
Yeah. Yeah, like when Ripka went down, that was the big one, man. It's like, that was on the goal line. Like, man, we cannot lose this dude. Our D line was already hurting so bad. He's a difference maker. And then I think Keyshawn Silver went down too. So yeah, we just injuries galore. Some things that you can't, that's football. That's going to happen. It's got to be next man up. And those dudes played probably above the expectation of the coaching staff, which is why we kept us in that game for sure. But we're on a bye week now. We'll kind of collect. I know there's a big contingent of the fan base calling for Cutter Boley. who is we talked about him too. He's the freshman. Potentially he's going to redshirt this year. I guess he technically still could. I don't know, depending on how many games he plays. I think that's really unfair of him. Like, yeah, he'll have a bye week. He'll come against Murray State. But could you imagine his first big game is either away in Austin against Texas or back home against Louisville, in a big rivalry game as a freshman? I mean, yeah, maybe he's a stud, but that seems like Nico is a freshman who's a stud, and he's got a full season, still hasn't really truly figured it out yet. Playing good ball at times, but hasn't put it all together. And then we're going to have this guy come in with 3 games left in the season and expect him to do something. And you start talking about, like, hey, how does it affect his confidence if he does come out there and play absolute trash or just not to the standard of a 4-star quarterback, Kentucky legacy guy, supposed to carry on the torch from Tim Couch. I think we just ride what we got, whether Brock is healthy or not. Gavin Wimsatt, or we got Bo Allen, who is he's a Kentucky guy as well. Was at Kentucky before, transferred, got some starting time. He's back now. Probably never expected to get on the field. He's there to probably be a coach. But I've talked to him in person. He's smart and he's got a lot of football experience. So maybe you put him in there, knowing that maybe he does something special, and if he doesn't, there's not really a lot of expectations on him in the future. So I think if we put Cutter Boley in there as a true freshman, that's a dangerous life to play. He might come out there and sling it, and we'll be super excited for next year. Or we're making another terrible call on the offense in a season full of terrible calls. But we got basketball this week. Monday is the official tip-off for Kentucky basketball. Have a game against Wright State, currently a 20-point favorite. When do y'all got tip-off against Louisville? Do you know?
No,
Is it Tuesday?
it's this week. I was going to say it's either tomorrow or Tuesday. Like, I know it's early.
Yeah.
Early in the week.
Let me see. Scroll through here real quick. We got a lot of basketball. Baylor and Gonzaga is on Monday. That's the late game on ESPN2. And then, not Tuesday. What we got Wednesday?
No, we got Gardner Webb tomorrow.
Okay.
So let me see if that wouldn't make sense to have Louisville on Tuesday then. We were just talking about maybe, this. Yeah.
Or it might be Saturday, the 9th. So Louisville, 9 a.m. my time, ACC Network. You guys will play. We got Bucknell on Saturday. So, but then Friday's a big one. Kansas against North Carolina. That's going to be a good game too. So a lot of college basketball on the docket, which is good if you're a Kentucky fan, because it's officially basketball season and we are very close to not having to worry about football anymore. So not until next season at least. And I tell you what, Stoops, I love you, but I know for a fact he cannot wait for basketball season to start, because one of two things are going to happen. Kentucky's going to keep playing well, we're going to win, and no one's going to care about the football season. Or Pope isn't going to be all that. He's going to lose, and people are going to just be pissed at basketball. So eventually something's going to happen.
Diverts attention from football.
Yeah, exactly. Just he's not going to be the getting the media face punches anymore as soon as we actually get into the heart of actual basketball season. But hey, T, man, I appreciate you subbing in here and coming in and talking. I know you're traveling and whatnot. I'll give you the opportunity to really dive deep and take the punches on another beatdown of Kentucky football. But just remember, on Fridays, I'm keeping these receipts, because when we sweep y'all in basketball, it's gonna be redemption for the Kentucky Wildcats. Just remember, be guarded in the things, in the shots you take.
It's not.
You never know. There's a chance, baby. But hey, and again, another episode of All UK Ball. Appreciate everybody listening. Next week we'll get Selena back. Selena, hopefully your kids are feeling better. Follow us along on Bleed Blue Network. Hey, shout out to everybody who listened to our live watch along. 1,500 people tuned in. That was by far one of the coolest things that I've ever done. People just listen to me kind of ramble about a game and give them my take about it. We had about 300 at the tip or the kickoff, and then by the time we got off, it was 1,500. So that was awesome, and I can't wait to do more. We're going to do a bunch more for basketball too. So again, appreciate everybody listening. Another disappointing Saturday, but it's basketball season. Go Cats.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Bleed Blue Network podcast. We hope you enjoyed diving deep into the world of Kentucky sports with us. Don't forget to stay connected by following us on Twitter at BleedBNation. Your feedback means the world to us. So take a moment to leave a review. Not only does it help us improve, but it also helps others discover the show. Until next time, keep cheering, keep listening, and keep bleeding blue.